during the waking up hours, okay, we have 75,000 thoughts.
Wow.
We make 30,000 decisions.
Dr. Kavitha, positive psychologist. She is known as the happiness woman. I am very curious to know more about this.
So many awards have come in, you know. The happiness is one subject that's not actually being taught, except death. As long as a person is alive, you can find a solution to any problem. A living person who goes to take an ECG, the graph has to be up and down. If it is a flat surface, right, the person is no more existing. So
obedient children are the most troubled adults.
yeah, there are some who are not very confident, okay, who are not confident because they must have been having a trauma of during childhood,
Right.
Very dominating parents. They were not given the space to take decisions. There are some who are people pleasers, because of which they have a lot of stress inside, because the people pleasers are the people who have been suppressing their emotions during childhood. And there are some children who cannot say no. The adults who cannot say no. Alpha male.
Yes.
What do you mean by alpha male, alpha female? The usage of words, because words are very powerful, very, very powerful. There was a female who could not conceive because she started hating her being a female.
Hi, welcome to a great podcast. We all work hard, we all want growth, we all want better lifestyles. Towards what? What are we actually aiming at? What are we actually aspiring for? Well, one of the things we all want is happiness in life, isn't it? Although we don't talk much about it. Today, this entire podcast is dedicated to happiness. And for that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Kavitha.
Hi.
Welcome, ma'am. Very happy to have you here. Dr. Kavitha is a positive psychologist. She is known as the happiness woman. I am very curious to know more about this. But Dr. Kavitha, thank you so much for giving us this time. Tell us more about why are you known as the happiness woman, ma'am? What is this positive psychology all about?
Hi, Shruti. It's an absolute pleasure to be doing a podcast with you today. We all know very well that the happiness is one subject that's not actually being taught.
Exactly.
Consciously.
True.
Right from the schooling to to life. Nobody teaches happiness.
Correct.
All the time, we are taught how to face the challenges, how to handle the stressors, how to probably face the failures. Nobody says what you do to really feel happy about. Positive psychology is a budding branch which deals more with the well-being, because when we talk about a very traditional psychology deals with situations when things already go bad. It's more diagnostic in approach.
Right.
And then what do we do to really bring a person back to the normal state of being, right? Positive psychology is more proactive that way. It talks about how do you prevent from falling into it, or how do you really handle yourself to face the life.
So more of preventive approach.
More of preventive
to
approach.
mental, emotional
Yes.
health.
It's for the emotional health. Absolutely. So talking about what made me think about happiness. I think till 2015 or till 2014, I was more dealing with a very traditional psychology of counseling, giving therapies, and then all this stuff. Then I thought probably, it's time that I need to be more proactive on, trying to identify and see what is that I do to really make the things more preventive, because that's very important. So with this thought, then I started working on the various elements of positive psychology, which was growing quite big at US. So I was a member of IPPA, International Positive Psychology Association. So started learning the things and then got certified into it to understand how do I really implement the stuff across in real-time situations. Then I started doing specific unique workshops in the name of Happiness is Your Birthright. So this is the workshop. This is where my title comes from.
Okay.
So I started conducting these workshops. First I wasn't. I just got into the slums. I got into wherever there was a possibility for me to teach happiness to people, because I thought there has to be a conscious awareness on like, what do you do to really bring in happiness into day-to-day situations? So this is an area like I have been working on, and because this was a new thought across, like where they said that, oh, there's somebody who's teaching happiness. So so many awards have come in, from Niti Aayog, So I mean, since then, like, I've been into this field of happiness, so trying my best to teach happiness to people.
That's, now that you say, you've said this, if you think of it also, whenever we greet each other and we ask, how are you doing? We probably mean more physically, are you healthy? Or, are things in your life okay? But our mind doesn't actually go to, are you happy?
Yeah.
So even my friends, if I think of it, there's probably just one friend I have. He's a biker, and he's the only one who asks me, Shruti, are you happy in life? But nobody else actually asks, are you happy? Probably we take it for granted, or we don't give enough importance to happiness in pursuit of success or in pursuit of a lot of other things in life. So this discussion, we're going to bring out a lot of these elements as well. I think that's very important, especially for the present generation.
Absolutely.
But before we get into all of this, ma'am, how do you define happiness? What is happiness? Is there a definition to it?
See, happiness can mean different things to different people.
Right.
Okay. Happiness is actually a state of mind, where there is joy, satisfaction, contentment, acceptance. Most important is acceptance.
Okay.
When I say happiness, it doesn't mean that it will not have challenges, it will not have failures, it will have everything, but there is more acceptance of it, because most of the times we are only cribbing about things. We crib about like, why this is happening to me, why only me, See, because most of us, we are in the survival mode, So when I say happiness, it's a state of mind where we are content with the things, where we accept the things the way they are, where we are moving ahead in life, where we know that this is life and then it has this and that. That is what I call it as happiness.
Okay. I would like to ask a counter question here. If everything is content and everything is satisfied, then where is the challenge to grow? Because when we say, the moment you get into that comfort zone, that satisfaction zone, you start stagnating. That is the general mindset. And when we talk of growth mindset, we talk of pulling ourselves out of the comfort zone. So where do we draw the line between being content with what we have, working towards happiness, and still having that little bit of discontentment and dissatisfaction, which makes us want to push our boundaries and do better in life?
That is the reason why I have used the word acceptance. Okay. When there is a problem, right? The solution, you can find a solution to the problem if you have a mind that is more open and you accept on a situation. Okay. The solutions are not found, or a person struggles with a problem because there is no acceptance of it. Most of the times it is only like cribbing on like why it is happening to them. See, we are on, a person is on a mindset on trying to be defending the problem, trying to say that the problem is there. So the person is fighting with the problem.
Instead of looking at solutions.
Because if you notice, most of the people like who struggle in life, they don't struggle because there is no solution to the problem. See, I'm a firm believer that except death, as long as a person is alive, you can find a solution to any problem. Even if a person is mutilated also.
Correct.
Okay? But the only problem why people start seeing problem as a bigger picture, because they are fighting with the problem.
Right.
That is where the acceptance comes into picture. See, when you know that the problem is there, when you validate that emotion, that problem is there, you have an emotion. A person is sad, a person is feeling not so good, a person is not really feeling good about the whole thing, right? The acceptance comes in. When the acceptance comes in, the solution starts coming in.
Right. Just to take an example here so our viewers understand it better, let us say somebody is feeling very stuck in their career.
Right.
There's no growth.
Right.
AI is taking over and they don't know what to do. So one way of looking at it is, I might lose my job and then that leads to a string of other negative emotions which might cause that person to their emotional and mental health being to kind of sink. The other way, like you said, is to accept that yes, there is a problem, I am stuck, and what do I do about it? And then start thinking of solutions of what do I learn new, or how do I channelize my energies next. So is that the difference you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Of just, for one is you imagine being stuck and you think of the consequences of being stuck, versus thinking of how do I bring myself out of this stagnation.
Absolutely, because I strongly feel that AI can dominate the space, but human emotions are the highest.
Yes.
AI doesn't stand even without the human emotions. It's pretty simple, because there has to be a person who's operating that.
Correct.
AI doesn't mean that it can do everything on its own, right? There is a human emotion, and the human emotions are changing, the mindsets are changing. And probably AI is programmed to an extent where it understands, certain things, and then, it is programmed to do things in a certain way. Or maybe it goes and does the things in a little more way. The reason why most of the depression rate is increasing in the country is because of that, that human element is not being met. The kind of emotional support that a child needs or a person needs as an adult, this is not being met. And how is AI helping in that situation? Right. Because I feel that human emotions can never be dominated. That's my strongest feeling. Right. So I think for everything in this space, let us just imagine a situation of this billions of population across the globe. If AI has to do all the work, so will anybody allow it? So what would happen to the survival of the balance of people if AI has to work?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, because it goes against the human rights. Right? Even if you think that way, it goes against the human rights. So I think there is a way you look at things in a very positive way. There is a way you look at situations, because it is something like, we are actually, we were actually exaggerating the things, but finally human is the top intelligence animal, and nothing can beat it.
Natural intelligence is always better than artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I have a very dear friend. Okay, he's a AI scientist as well. So whenever he talks of happiness, he doesn't actually talk of happiness. He says, my oxytocin levels are high. I'm not feeling good because my serotonin levels are low. He talks about all these things. So please help us understand the physiology behind happiness. Is it a thought? Is it an emotion? Is there some chemicals locha going on in the head which creates this kind of feeling? What is happiness biologically?
Yeah, let us first understand the emotions, the physiology of emotions, to understand like why you're sad or why you are happy, right? Okay. So if I have to put it in the layman's terms, okay, there is one particular organ in the brain. It's called the amygdala. It is like your alarm piece, okay? So it keeps giving you the alarm, because before that, let us first understand, what is the very purpose of anything that is living on this planet, okay? Any living being on this planet, the foundational purpose of any life is to survive. Survive, right?
Yes.
And for survival, we have been hardwired, as an evolution, that we have been hardwired to check out for threats or rewards.
Right.
That is the consistent job of a brain, right?
Correct.
See, I'm giving a podcast. You are here for a podcast. So you come here for a reward. I've also come here for a reward, right?
Yes.
See, there is a reward, right?
Yes.
And let us say that, something goes off, or something. So your mind and my mind, we start looking out for threat. Any moment of time, on our day-to-day existence, the brain consistently searches for rewards or for threats. This is the survival mechanism, right? Okay. So for this survival mechanism, the alarm piece is your amygdala. Okay. It keeps checking out the threats or the rewards. Okay. It keeps checking out, okay? See, once that keeps checking out, then the another organ of the brain, whose job is to release that neurotransmitters or the chemicals that are required, to experience that emotion. Let us say that somebody is stressed out, or somebody is in a state of fear, or somebody is, and so your cortisols are released into the bloodstream. Why are they released into the bloodstream? It's again a survival mechanism, such that you either fight or you flight or you become freeze. You freeze, such that you know that you're surviving at the end of this. Survival is the basic foundational principle of any existence, okay?
Right.
The same way, let us say there is a reward, okay? Let us say there is a reward that's coming up, okay? For this reward that comes in, again this amygdala gives an alarm, oh, there's a reward coming to you. Come on, that's your job to now check out. So eventually this starts releasing the chemicals into the into your bloodstream, okay? So when these rewards are the names what you spoke of, the chemical, the reward chemicals, okay? Let me put it as the happiness chemicals or the reward chemicals, okay? So we have around 4 in number. There are much more than that, but there are 4, basically primarily there are 4 in number, okay? The first chemical's job, or if I have to put it, it's called dose, DOSE, it's called the dose.
Okay.
So we are talking about the dopamines, okay? If I have to talk about the dopamine chemical, why is it released or when is it released? Let us say that, like you want very badly to eat a pizza, okay? You put it, you call the Domino's and said, man, I need a pizza, okay? The Zomato guy gets you a pizza. So there is a kind of an excitement in you, right? That you want to eat it, you are visualizing it, you are imagining it, and there is a thrill that you are going to eat it, right? So once you get your pizza, when there is a door knock, that excites you even more, okay? Once you have the pizza, it comes down.
So is that instant hit of pleasure?
Instant hit of pleasure, okay? When you are achieving, because it is also a survival mechanism. See, what are goals? All the goals, when you're achieving your goals, the small term goals or the long term goals, when you're achieving your goals, the dopamines are released. But unfortunate element is like they don't stay after that. Once it is released, you are searching for something else. The reason why people who are dreaming to buy a house, or the people who are dreaming to get into a job of let us say that they want a job with 12 CTC per annum, okay? Once the 12 CTC, they work very hard towards it because dopamine is pushing them to do certain things, okay? Once they get it, the 12 CTC doesn't work on them the next year.
Exactly.
Next year they want 14, they want 16, they want 18. It never ends because the beauty with dopamine addiction is like it never makes you stop. You need to stop it somewhere to say, okay, because that is where it starts creating the stress.
So dopamine is also addictive in nature?
Absolutely. Dopamine, I mean, why are they addicted to mobiles? Because of dopamine.
Okay.
Why are they onto games? Because of dopamine. Why is there an addiction? Every addiction, the dopamine is one of the reasons.
So is it a good thing or not a good thing to have? Or how do you actually
Anything
talk about
obsessive is not good. Anything obsessive is not good, right? Because the reason why the social media addiction is too high, where people are getting into depression, the mental health is spoiled because of your social media handles like Facebook, Insta. Because every second I'm seeing how many likes I'm getting.
Right.
The more the likes.
Every time I get a hit, I get a like, I get a dopamine hit.
Yes, there's a dopamine hit. And let us say that last time I got around 100 hits and this time it's only 80.
So the dose is less.
The dose is less, the cortisol increases because there's a stress inside, right? So this is the job of the dopamine, right?
Okay.
So the next chemical we are talking about, the serotonin. Serotonin is something that makes you come out of when you're in a sad situation like depression or when you're anxious, or so the serotonin helps that way. And then talking about the third one, okay, oxytocin. Oxytocin is more a touch happy chemical. Like let us say that it comes through a human touch, or there's a touch through an animal, the pets. Why do you love pets?
Okay.
Why does pet makes you happy?
Right. The physical touch.
The physical touch, the cuddling, it's an emotion, it's a connection hormone, okay? We are talking about that. Then we are talking about endorphins. Like when somebody is in a pain. See, this is the chemical that is released, the physical chemical that is released to help them sustain that pain,
Okay.
So we are talking about these dose in the body, this dose in the body, which is actually, helping us to experience that state of happiness or state of contentment or satisfaction, okay? So this is what your friend was actually talking of.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically these are giving you those instantaneous experiences.
Absolutely.
But they're not kind of sustainable happiness.
Nothing sustains. Only when you intend to get obsessed over it. But because as a survival being, we don't get, and because you cannot be happy all the time. You cannot be sad all the time. Yes. See, life is, I always keep mentioning this in my talks, okay? A living person who goes to take an ECG, the graph has to be up and down. If it is a flat surface, right, the person is no more existing.
Correct.
So
Yes.
I think that is the beauty of living, right? So we need to have challenges. Because why do we need to have challenges? Because there is a learning that is happening. Because we are all here. The earth is a school. See, I always say earth is a school, right? Here we are all here for learning something. Right. Because you cannot come and say cry and feel happy and die. That's not the way it is. There is a learning that has to happen. Right. So I think this is exactly what is happening. So it has to be a graph of learning as well as experiencing the reward of it, and then knowing how to protect yourself. And so this is the whole game all about.
Right. So what can we do if to have a better quality life? Okay, if I want to have more happiness in my life, are there some things that I can do to have these chemicals more active or at an optimum level, so I don't get into that negative frame of mind? Are there some activities that I can do on a daily basis, or what does it depend on?
Yeah. Let us first understand, what does the scientific study talks about? The research states that 50% of happiness is genetic in nature. Let us say you're coming from a happy family where people are happy, joking, laughing, where they take the things in a lighter vein, and then where you are taught to face the challenges, or where you feel that Arey chalta hai bhai, that's nothing, you can be very happy with whatever is happening in your life. So it all depends upon the nature. The nature.
Part of it?
That's a nature, genetic part of it. I'm talking about the nature.
Okay.
Nature, okay?
Part of your DNA itself.
Yes, exactly. The 50% is the nurture. Like how you nurture as you're growing, how you're taking the opportunities. But the beauty with it is because nurture is as equal as nature, okay? And so you can even transform your DNA when you start emphasizing the nurture element more into it. When you know how do you handle the life situations, and when you know how to really come out of it. I always believe that you don't seek happiness to experience happiness, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let me give the narrative with an example. Let us say that I take mineral water in a glass, and I put the Musi river or dirt water into it. It is not edible to drink.
It is not.
Even if I take Ganga water and then put the dirty water,
Yes.
despite that, it's not edible to drink, right?
Yes.
So the water becomes edible, or it is more functional, at a level only when you remove the dirt from it. So because we are negatively hardwired as a survival being, so it's very important that we understand what are the things that are really troubling us, and because let me also give you one more data here. During the waking up hours, okay, we have 75,000 thoughts.
Wow.
Okay, we make 30,000 decisions.
And when waking up, as in when we just are getting out of bed?
Wherever you're conscious, you are awake.
Okay.
You're awake. Okay. We have 75,000 thoughts. Okay, in a day. On this, 70 to 80% are negative thoughts.
Wow.
Negative thoughts. And why did this come? This is more as a survival. It's a mechanism that we have developed over the time to evolve, right? It's an evolutionary mechanism.
Trying to be alert towards danger, so
Absolutely.
I can protect myself.
Absolutely. And on that 70 to 80 also, 90% are repetitive thoughts.
Right.
The latest thing that has troubled you, let us say somebody has insulted you, let us say that you faced a trauma, let us say that you're upset with something. That is the only thought that keeps repeating. So the whole day, that is what we call it as the inner voice. The inner voice is the voice that keeps telling you, Shruti, or this, Shruti, somebody has insulted you. Shruti, you could not do this. Shruti, you did not fail in this. Shruti, you might not be conscious of it. If I have to really ask you, can you give me 10 thoughts that has come in the day? It's not easy. It's not possible, right? See, you can imagine 75,000 thoughts you are operating at a subconscious level.
Wow.
Everything is at a subconscious level, So 80% of your behaviors is a subconscious behavior. As I told you, the whole structure, okay? There is an operational manager, there is a COO, that is your hypothalamus, that keeps releasing and says, there is a problem, come on, let me release these hormones, okay?
Right.
There is this alarm that tells you what it is. And overall, there is a CEO, that the prefrontal cortex, okay? There is another organ called the hippocampus, which is your memory region, okay? That brings you the past experiences of negativity to you, to tell you that, that day also they were insulted you. Now also you are being insulted, so you need to be more alert. All these things are operated from here, from a prefrontal cortex, okay? So there is this machinery, the COO, the CEO, the alarm, and everything is like working so systematic and such a beautiful way that we don't even remember, and everything is happening at a subconscious level.
Right.
And we only experience the emotion at a conscious level, but we don't know what is happening at a
The
subconscious
thought
level.
behind
We don't know
that
because
we are not conscious about it.
Because off late, most of the working is happening on the inner child traumas. Because
correct.
during the childhood, because 90% of the brain is developed by 7-8 years. Okay, so what you understand yourself as a person, what you understand the world around you, the kind of a personality is developed, during childhood.
Right.
I'll give you some examples to understand it even more, because that will really help the people like who want to get into the career. There are some like who are not very confident, okay, who are not confident because they must have been having a trauma of during childhood of, where the children have been snubbed during the childhood.
Right.
Very dominating parents. They were not given the space to take decisions.
Right.
Every decision of the child has been made by the parent. And because of which the child really doesn't know like how to make decisions. See, I'm sure that you would be seeing some people like who come in,
Lot of them.
they can't make decisions, right? So there is somebody they need a support to make decisions because it's a trauma that they have gathered in. There are some who are people pleasers, because of which they have a lot of stress inside, because the people pleasers are the people like who have been suppressing the emotions during childhood, and until they do something good, okay, during childhood, they were not being appreciated as a child. Right. See, when children like this grow up as an adult, the whole suppressed emotions, they manifest as people pleasing. So we call them, ye to makkan lagata hai sabko, we see people like that, right? So people pleasing is also a kind of a trauma. It's also a kind of a trauma, right? And there are some children who cannot say no. The adults who cannot say no, they don't have an assertive voice to say no, because they have not been given an option. There's a trauma that is developed that if I say no, I might not be accepted.
Right.
So if you notice, all these traumas, they are all getting stored in your subconscious mind.
Right.
In the subconscious mind, and because it's stored in the subconscious mind and you are operating from a subconscious level, a person doesn't even realize that the person is behaving like this.
Correct.
The person is seeking out or approaching or highly dominant, based on the parenting style and the kind of traumas that they have developed during the childhood. So as an adult, like if you have to really seek happiness, there is so much that we need to work from the foundational level.
I think it starts with understanding why I'm behaving a certain way, and probably I have to dig into my childhood experiences to get those out.
Absolutely.
In fact, recently I was reading something which says, so in the Indian society and probably globally also, obedience is considered a virtue.
Yeah.
And I was reading somewhere which said, obedient children are the most troubled adults.
Yeah.
Because they kept obeying everything. And they were appreciated for being very sorted children who listens to his parents and all. But in adult, when he has to take charge, he or she has to take charge, they have no clue.
Yes.
They're still looking for some adult to give them instructions so they can obey.
Yes, that's what I told you. That's a trauma that's developed because they have never been given an opportunity of taking decisions because of failure. Why did they take? Why couldn't they? What was the reason that the decisions were not given to them as a child? Because they said, no, you might fail, आपको नहीं आता है ये, हम हैं ना, बड़े हैं ना, हम बड़े हैं ना, we will tell you this transfer. Exactly. So this translates, this translates into and manifests into an adulthood, wherein the emotions are suppressed and basic skills are not being taught. So there is a codependency on the other person. You see, even in partners also, there is a lot of codependency. They wait for the other person to do everything. They don't take any initiative. There are many marriages which are failing because of this codependency.
Right.
Because the wife comes and says, "Ye banda to kuch nahi karta and everything I have to do. He doesn't even do this. He doesn't even do that." You know, there are complaints that are coming in because the codependency is also a kind of a manifestation of a trauma during the childhood.
Right. So one thing that I have noticed, because at Odin School we get a lot of people in the working profession, early working professionals are people who come to us, primarily because there is something in their life they want more than what they have right now, which is a good thing, right? Probably they are feeling they're not experiencing enough growth. They want to learn new technologies, or they want to be better than what they are today. That is what drives them to come and work with us and learn new skills and transition. Now, again, coming to the workplaces, what we have noticed working with all these people, our present workplaces are somehow not as happy as they were probably previously. There is more discontentment, there is more office politics that goes on, there is more backbitching that is going on. There's a lot of these kind of negative elements, which is not creating a supportive environment. Although we talk of inclusion, right? I know a lot of people who are borderline neurodivergent and people like that also, who don't feel heard or who don't feel included as part of their office groups. Where is this coming from? As a society, are we undermining the feelings of empathy and happiness? Is that what is causing it? Or is it that we as a generation came from that parenting style, like you said? Is that what causing this behavior? Where is the cause and what do we do about it?
I feel it is multiple variables into it. We cannot really say that the reason is this or that. If you really notice, right? See, as a generation, like both at a cognitive level, at an emotional level, there are changes that are happening, right? Maybe if I have to talk back 35 years from now, a government employee's job is to go at 9 o'clock in the morning,
right,
and have a couple of breaks in between, 3 breaks in fact, tea break, morning break and evening break and lunch break, and then come back by 5:30, 6. After 6, it's only family, right? There is a relaxation. But now we find people working for 3 time zones, 4 time zones, and God knows how many time zones, right? And added to all these things, right? With the parents, both the parents working, they are able to provide the physical comforts at the best level, but nothing much of an emotional safety or comfort is being looked into. The intention is not to give that, but intention is it's missing out somewhere. It's missing out somewhere as a generation, right? So this is a generation that is getting created like that. Okay, there is a new generation that we are talking about. If you ask me, is it good? It's not good.
Okay.
Because you know, I see very funny things happening nowadays. You know, alpha male.
Yes.
What do you mean by alpha male, alpha female?
Correct.
So lack of empathy, lack of understanding, doing nonsense what you want cannot be alpha, and that's not greatness.
Yes.
Right? So, but with this kind of new things that are being created as a generation where the people are accepting and call themselves cool, okay? See, I'm cool because I'm an alpha female or an alpha male, right? So we need to understand the lack of happiness is the excess of free will that we all have. Okay, if you ask me, then shouldn't we have free will? We need to have free will because human beings are beings of free will, right? We all have a free will to be what we want. But we need to understand at the cost of what? Because if somebody is doing something as their own individuality or a personality, it still gives you contentment of why you are doing that, because you have a conviction why you are doing something, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, thanks to the technology, right? Most of the things are being aped.
Correct.
Nobody is original in their content. Nobody is original in their behavior.
Yes.
People are not original, right? Because of this lack of originality, because if you notice, there's nothing wrong in being different, okay? But under the condition that you are not harming somebody, you are not harming yourself.
Right.
The 2 conditions that we are looking into, right? But despite that, if somebody is doing something because somebody else is doing that, it will not give you happiness, because that is not, because there is a conflict between your heart and the mind.
Right.
You are doing it at a mind level, your heart says something. Let us say I'm a spiritual person. I'm very honored to say I'm a spiritual person. I don't hesitate from that. I don't hesitate I'm a meditator. I don't hesitate that, I believe in spirituality. But there can be few like who feel that spirituality is more an Eastern term, and it is not a Western thing that they are looking into.
Not fashionable.
It's not fashionable, right? See, when you are that, there is a stress.
Yes.
So if I have to call myself super westernized, or westernized also might not be the right term, maybe a term where I'm so different, which I'm really not. Most of the problems are arising because of this conflicts.
Yes.
I am not that, but I'm forced to be that.
Some sort of an identity crisis, you think?
Absolutely.
This entire generation
Absolutely, because they are not believing their uniqueness.
Right.
The whole point is you need to be unique, because uniqueness is beautiful. This is what I keep talking in my talks. Uniqueness is beautiful, because you are beautiful as Shruti, I am beautiful as Kavitha. And why should Shruti become Kavitha, and why should Kavitha become Shruti?
Yeah.
Very simple, right? We all need to have our own identities. We all need to have that conviction why we are this.
Right.
And the reason and why at workplace people are not happy, because most of the times they are not their original selves.
Right. I think that goes back to what we were talking in the beginning about acceptance.
Exactly.
The absolute acceptance of what I am, including my shortcomings, including my strengths and everything.
Absolutely.
Be at peace with yourself.
Absolutely.
And then find areas where you want to work on yourself and get better. But then start with that acceptance.
Exactly.
Right?
And that is beautiful, because everybody need not be perfect. Nobody is perfect.
Correct.
Nobody is perfect.
Right.
We all have our lapses, and these are the lapses that are beautiful.
Right.
In fact, they make your personality.
Right.
See, if everybody is so perfect, then there's no point in having an experience. Life becomes so boring. ECG straight graph is what I look into.
Yeah. So we spoke about this alpha male, and there are so many of them.
Absolutely.
Whether they really are or not, I don't know. But the projection is of somebody, even if they are a timid person at home, they want to be aggressive outside.
Yes.
They want to project themselves. So that is where you said the conflict between what they actually are and what they want to be, which might also be leading to a lot of other psychological issues as a side effect of this kind of a conflict, which many people are not even aware of.
Yeah.
And they will not be aware of it until it hits them in a bad way.
Correct.
Now, all these kind of behaviors that we are seeing, are these also a way of self-defense, of trying to protect myself against what the world might throw at me? Do you think these kind of alpha personalities are a way of self-defense as well?
Yes, absolutely. Because I tell you the reason why. Again, I come back to the trauma. I come back to the trauma again. Okay. I give you one more thought here on this. Okay. Every living being, as I told you, the brain is always, the mind is always searching out for threats or rewards all the time, right? The same way, every human being, right? There are 4 spiritual needs. I call them the spiritual needs, okay? Which is irrespective of the caste, creed, religion, position. You forget about all these things. If you are a human being, you need this, that's it, okay? The first one is the love, which is quite understandable, right? The second one is the safety. When I say safety, it is the emotional safety, okay? Physical safety, everybody looks into it, because we are more of 3-dimensional beings, right? We only look into the material elements of our existence. We don't go beyond that, okay? So when we say safety, I'm sending them in a good bus, they're going in a good car, driving a good car, everything is safe, but we are not looking into the emotional safety of an adult or a child, okay? The third one is the acceptance. When I say acceptance, no matter a person fails in life or succeeds in life, the person is accepted the way the person is, okay? And the fourth one is appreciation, because appreciation is something, even little things, because we overlook the happiness and we undermine the happiness, and we exaggerate the failures, right? That's the basic intent. That's the basic approach of life. So what we have to understand in this perspective is, as a child, let us say the child has not been accepted so well. Okay, no matter, you are a person, you are good the way you are, and no matter what your personality is, okay, you are absolutely fine the way you are. People like this don't imitate. Right, when they are being forced to be somebody, because we also have this, we say, are you a good boy or a bad boy? No, this is where we start. This is a very common question, right? You're a good boy or a bad boy? This is a very common parenting thing that happens right from childhood. Good boys don't do that, bad boys do that. So we train them on how they have to be. We don't give them an experience of understanding. So it is a kind of enforcing something onto the children, right? These are the children like who when they grow as adults, right, they want to imitate somebody because they have not been accepted as a child. There is this trauma that is sitting inside, down inside, wherein they say, as you said, inside, in Telugu they say intlo pilli baita puli, something like that, something or puli pili, I don't know how that code goes. Okay, this is exactly the way it works, right? So because everything is a manifestation of the trauma. Because when have you seen this movie Aparachit?
Yes.
Wherein he gets, though it is a multiple, they say it's a multiple personality, split personality and all this stuff. But what we need to understand, because he was not accepted as a person the way he was, he tries to get into a space which is not that, and there he starts getting the attraction of that person, because there was a trauma of acceptance from this girl. You understand? See, that is where it comes from. And that movie is not fake, that's real, because he might have dramatized the whole thing, for a visual experience, but that's the reality. And we can see in Abhijit every space. Even in the workspaces and all this, right? So this is exactly what is happening, because of which, they are forced to be what they are not, because they want to, because the four needs are essential. The love, safety, acceptance and appreciation. And why they have to be accepted? Because they want appreciation.
Right. So ma'am, you also mentioned that happiness is a state of mind, which makes me think that it is more internal than external. But then there are a lot of external factors also involved, right? So how does one be happy? I mean, should we just be indifferent to external things and just accept who I am and work towards my happiness? Or how do I handle this entire thing when there is this very real conflict going on day in, day out?
You are not so different from the external world, okay? Because external world is giving you an experience of the inner world.
That's a very unique way of thinking. I never thought of it that way.
Right? See, let us say that you want to eat your favorite ice cream, and I get you your favorite ice cream. It gives you that happiness for a moment, right? So if you notice all the experiences that we have inside, okay, in internal state of mind, all the experiences we have got it from outside. Okay, because see, maybe if this question was asked to a Himalayan yogi, the answer would have been different. See, if we are talking about a person living in the society, there is a connection, eventually a connection. But why we say internal happiness is more important? Because your external situation should not hamper your internal happiness.
Right.
In the sense, like, there is a challenge that is coming in front of you. You cannot say there is a challenge, so I'm unhappy. Say there is a challenge, maybe I'll learn something, maybe I'll grow, maybe that helps me evolve, maybe that makes me a better person, So let me accept that and start moving in. So it is not that you cannot absolutely divide, because everything is connected, okay? Everything is connected. But what really happens is, like, you cannot completely, internally, if you have to be, internally you can be happy, you have to be happy, because external things, though they are wrong or they are right, you start, when you accept a bad thing, it gives you happiness. You understand? It makes you better. When there is a happy thing, it eventually makes you happy.
Right. So yes, so there are all these things. All of us, I think every single person is carrying some kind of a trauma.
Absolutely.
Because all of us have had ups and downs in life, right? Nobody has had a smooth life, absolutely smooth life. Even the most gifted people have had their low moments. So all of us are carrying some kind of a trauma, which is probably, like you said, manifesting in different ways, in our behaviors, even through our words, our actions and everything. What can we do now going forward? Now we have identified the problem. We'll have the next part of the discussion about now what do we do about this? How can I, considering where I am right now, how do I grow from here? How do I make myself happier, considering that the situations around me might or might not even change?
Okay.
So how do I handle this?
I believe that, because first we need to be aware of our behaviors. That's the first place that we have to work on, right? because there could be some, when I say behaviors, let us try to understand what do I mean by behaviors, right? I'm talking about the triggers. Like, is something making me happy? Is something making me angry? Is something creating fear in me? Is something stopping me from doing it? Because we all have patterns, but most of the times we are so subconscious about it, we are not even aware like what is happening, right? So we need to first identify the patterns, right? We need to identify what are all the behaviors that we have, right? Or the simplest way it could be like, let us identify 30 areas that makes us sad, that makes us feel bad rather, okay? Maybe people say I'm not a good speaker, or people say I'm so angry all the time, or people say I fear, people say I'm not good at it, people say I'm not. So if we can make a note of 30 things, okay, and identify the top 5 things that has been a consistent trigger in our lives, because that is what is helping us do a behavior, right? So for this, let me give you an equation, a formula, a mathematical formula, okay? We have to understand that behind every behavior, okay, there is an emotion, right? Behind every emotion there is this inner voice, antardhvani, that says, Shruti, you are bad, you are insulted, you are this, you are that, you are that. That day also it happened to you, remember? That alarm piece keeps talking to you, at a subconscious level, okay? Behind that inner voice there is a context, a situation that has created this, okay? Behind that context there is an experience that has made you realize like why it is happening, right? So we need to identify the top 5 things that are actually troubling us. Maybe
Just to repeat the equation, starts with experience.
Yes, you can come this way.
So
every
there is an
experience
that leads to,
there is a context, there is a situation, right? From a situation there is an experience.
Okay.
This experience it leads to an inner voice that tells you are bad. That's a personality that has been formed during the child. You are bad, you are good, you are this, you are that, okay?
Right.
This inner voice leads to an emotion. This emotion leads to the behavior.
right?
Okay. This emotion leads to the behavior. So let us say that, I'll give you a very small example. Okay. Let us say that a child has failed in a driving test. There is a teen has failed in the driving test. Okay. Next time the child is asked to take up the test again, the child says, no, I will not go.
Right.
Because during childhood, the child failed many a times in many a things, and there was an inner voice, you cannot do anything.
Right.
You always fail, okay? There is an inner voice, and that has come from the family or from the school or from the space, any space, okay? So this creates an emotion that there is a fear that I will fail, so let me not do it.
Right.
Okay, let me not do it. So this is an example that you can think of. Okay, so this is an equation where we work on. So as I told you, write the top 30 things that makes you feel what you are as a person, and identify the 5 things that is most consistent in the behavior. Okay. After that, start understanding where this feeling has come from, because if you can just sit with and then get back to your childhood to say, okay, why am I feeling bad? Why am I feeling low? Why am I feeling this? What makes me feel not so confident? What makes me feel the fear? What makes me a people pleaser? What makes me an anxious person? Why am I anxious for everything? Right? So we need to understand there could be some childhood experience that is related to it. Maybe sometimes it can work out because some few people cannot get into it, right? Cannot get into that, and where they can take a professional help of understanding where it has come from. Okay. So once we identify, okay, then it is time that you talk to your inner child.
Okay.
Sit before a mirror, put your 7-year-old photograph and or 10-year-old photograph, wherein you have failed that experience. Talk to the child that you are loved. Okay, you are loved the way you are.
Say positive things.
Say positive things, because if somebody is a people pleaser, that's a trauma. Okay, people pleaser. You will fail. You are accepted the way you are. You are beautiful. There are many events in your life that is actually where you are accepted, where you learned from it. You are only fearing that you will not be accepted, but you are accepted. So you can say no, you can be no. Start writing a narrative, a letter, maybe I would say a love letter to yourself, wherein you talk to it everyday basis to see what it is. This can be one. Okay, this can be one.
That's a very practical, very doable thing.
Very doable thing, yes. That is one thing that we can think of, right? Because I always feel that you remove the negative things to appreciate happiness.
Right.
No matter how much happiness you get in, when there is a negatively hardwired mindset, you cannot sustain that happiness. Maybe the dopamines are there for a second, then you lose it out, and then you are again back to square one.
Correct. Yes.
It's important that one removes that inner traumas, whatever is in, because everything is an inner trauma. I firmly believe in that, and all my therapies are based out on that. All my therapies are based out on it. I'll also give you one more example where there was a female who could not conceive. Okay, who could not conceive. When I got to when we were working on the problems that were related to it, okay, because she started hating her being a female, because there were many females in the family, and the grandparents were not so very comfortable, of having many females. She started hating that feminism, and because of which, the complete ideology of, the idea of being a female was lost.
Okay.
She could not connect to her feminism. I think it's important that we connect to our identities, and then we see what we are as a person.
And this example brings out another very important aspect. Most of us, we think our happiness is not related to our physical health, but what you're saying is the mindset that we have, it actually had a very real impact on her physically.
Absolutely.
Also, right?
Everything is psychosomatic. It is psychosomatic. All the diseases are psychosomatic. Suppressed anger, I'm not sure like how much the research is true, but the study that has come in, suppressed anger, the suppressed anger is leading to cancer.
Cancer, arthritis,
exactly,
cardiac issues,
exactly, suppression, when
diabetes,
yes, absolutely, everything is psychosomatic in nature. Everything is psychosomatic in nature. We need to understand that, because there is so much of work. People say you exercise. Exercising is good. I don't say no. You work out, you do this, eat nutritious food. But when you are not happy from inside, all these material things will not work. Very simple. So you need to know how to be happy from within.
Yes. Also, because when there is too many stress hormones inside us,
yes,
I think the fat or something in the body is preserved, because the body thinks you're in a risk state.
Absolutely.
So to protect that, you need the fat.
Yes.
So no matter how much you do, you don't lose weight, you lose muscle.
Yes.
But the fat is preserved.
Yes.
So it's a very, very inclusive. Then these are not mutually exclusive things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is one exercise that I can think of. Another exercise, what I usually tell people is like, I think one can do some breathing, because everything is related to breathing at the end of the day, right? Because breathing is something like, we call it the box breathing, maybe, inhale 4, sustain the breath for 4, a count of 4. And then exhale. One can do, exhalation can be 4, and again sustaining it for a 4 count. One can do that, or they can do a 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
One can have there are many breathing techniques. Breath is one thing that can really help, because the beauty with the breath is, when the amygdala, as I told you, the alarm in your brain starts telling there is something is wrong, there is a threat outside, right? So eventually the whole physiology of the body, it increases the breath rate, increases your heart rate, and it tells you that. So by breathing, by slow breathing, by deep breathing, it calms in the amygdala, it comes back to the position, says there's no threat, you're okay. That can be the second thing. And the third most important thing, which I feel with children nowadays, especially between the two school teens to 20-30s also, I think we need to reduce that social media time, because that is one thing that really, creating a lot of, stress in people, and a lot of, because the dopamine spurges or the cortisol spurges are equally high. That is the third thing. I think we need to cut down on it. And people say A is good to a certain extent, but eventually it hampers your, because see, I have a joke to say that everything is a 369, anything living being is a 369, and 0-1 is a binary system where the AI works, right? 0-1 can never beat 369, because we are creators, as Tesla always says, right? So we are creators, as creators of our own experience, right? Yes. We are always better beings than any AI that comes on this planet. Nothing can replace that. So that is something that we have to understand as beings. And then sleep is something, that's another area where people don't sleep. They wake up till 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, especially, the late adolescents, or, the young adults, when we talk of, they don't sleep well. And I think these are all areas they have to keep working. And most important thing is, they need to know that as human beings, we are all here for an experience. Every experience is beautiful, and once they start looking at life that way, taking up some spiritual element of it, right? So this experience will make you a better person.
Right.
If that experience hasn't come, nobody grows. There is no growth at all.
That's true. I've actually seen this, the younger generation, younger as in 20s, 30s. They are so much more comfortable texting somebody rather than picking up the phone and calling and having the same conversation.
Yes.
It doesn't even have to be a difficult conversation,
Correct.
They will text and they will wait rather than just pick up the phone. That's what I tell my team also sometimes. Don't wait, just pick up the phone and call.
Yes.
What's the problem in talking directly?
Absolutely.
Why do you have to text and wait?
Yes.
But then I think we're just, programmed that way mentally. Text and it's more digital conversation than that real conversation. Probably another reason why there's an increase, because that human touch is being lost.
Yes, absolutely.
Ma'am, what is your? I think we are kind of amazing conversation. But if you were to give some kind of advice, because a lot of our viewers are people who are in the process of transitioning their careers. They are in the process of going through a major life-altering decision that they have taken. So there is bound to be certain self-doubt, uncertainties and things like that. But then they also realize that that is necessary for them to take this step at this point of time for them to sustain their growth. What is your advice for them to ensure that during this stressful journey, their mental and emotional health is not getting affected? What can they do about it?
The most important thing is nothing is stressful. That's the first thing they have to understand. It's an experience again. It's a journey, right? In this journey, let's say that I'm traveling, let's say by road, okay? There can be pitfalls, there can be rocks, there can be a smooth road. The ride can be bumpy, can be anything. Finally, if I have to reach my destination and I need to travel that road, that's the first thing we have to understand. Second thing, I think every life on this planet has a very beautiful destination, has a very beautiful destiny and destination, both the things. It is us who create the bumps for ourselves, by calling it first, we use certain words quite loosely, okay. One is the word that we use, the stress, I'm stressed out, right from a teen, okay. And nowadays, even more loosely word is depression. They say depression,
totally
they say very easily depression. I said, what do you mean by that? What is that? I ask them, because without knowledge, right, people loosely use the words and they know that it is not good. They might not know what exactly it is, but the amygdala, that babe does its work, it doesn't say, it says, dude, you're depressed. Oh, I'm depressed. Yes, I'm depressed, okay. So it has its own way of doing it. I think the first control has to come in the usage of words, because words are very powerful, very, very powerful, we are supposed to know what we are talking, even self-talk, if it is a self-talk is negative towards you, even for fun. The structure, the CEO of the brain doesn't understand fun, easy, go. It only sees reward and threat. These are the two dimensions it exists on.
The subconscious is blind.
It's blind, exactly. It only takes, it's a sponge. It only takes what is being given, brings out the past memories into it, adds it up. The CEO of your brain, the cortex starts operating based on what emotion does it gets predominantly, okay? The first thing is your words. Know what you are talking. Very, very important. Stress. And it is beautiful to have stress, because if the stress is not there, right, you will, because let us say that our podcast starts at around 11 o'clock. Let us say till 10:45 I'm lazying around. And unless until they think, oh my God, it's 10:45. So if I have to call that stress, that is beautiful, because without that, it doesn't push me to do some things, right?
Making me take action.
It doesn't make me take an action, right? So it's important that when I say stress, let's not say, not every stress is bad, right? And so let us not loosely use the words which really does not, which can create a kind of an emotion inside you, which is so threatening in nature, okay? So that is number one. Using proper words is the first thing I tell people. The second thing that's quite important, I feel, is understand, be aware of what you are. First, get to know your original personality. Because most of the times we are so busy imitating somebody that we fail to understand what we are, or we have forgotten ourselves.
True.
right? And we are all quite unique in our own sense, right? So it's important that we become aware of what we are. Every person is beautiful. Not everybody need not do a programming. Everybody need not be a data analyst, right? Maybe even in that part, maybe you are good at something, a bit of it, which somebody is not good at, right? And in the process of fighting, going behind what you are not good at, you are losing out what you are good at. So it's important that be aware of your strengths. That's the second most important thing, to know what it is. And the third most important thing is, whatever you're doing, have a conviction why you're doing it. Don't loosely do certain things because it's again an imitation game,
Just
right?
because everybody else, don't do it just because everybody else is doing it.
I mean, because that can start right from the way you dress up.
Right.
That can start right from, because let us start working on being our original selves, okay? Because dressing up is so easy, because we want to dress up something because somebody else is something else, right? So let us be our original selves to showcase what we are.
Right.
To showcase what we are. That's very, very important, right? What's her name? The pop singer of those days, who used to go and sing in the pubs, I'm not getting her name on the top recall. Okay. She used to go with a Kanjivaram sari with a big bindi. Usha Uthup, yeah. She never bothered, because otherwise that's not the costume that you identify with a space. No, that's not the costume for the space. But she went against it to say, I'm this, See, because that is beautiful. That is what has become beautiful. So I think every human being has to understand what is that they are original, and let them be that. One need not be ashamed of it. One need to be proud of it, because that's your identity that you created for yourself. That's your exclusively own, right? So that's the next thing. And one has to start working out on their weaknesses, the areas of trauma, that what we just discussed, right? We need to work out on the traumatic situations, because most of the times we don't identify the trauma as belonging to us, and we start blaming the environment. We start blaming the bosses. Right? So this is an area that I think that there are some people have to work on, right? To say that, because anytime before you blame a boss or before you blame your colleague, see what is that you have within you, and identify 4 things that are bad within you that has to change, because when you change the way you look at the things, the way the things look change.
Yes.
Okay, they change, right? They don't appear the same anymore. So I think we need to change the way we look at the things.
Right.
I think that's the next thing and the fifth thing is probably, don't overdo things for the sake of doing. You don't need to work 4 time zones, You can always say, no, sorry boss, I can only do 3 time zones. That's okay. Because know that this body is a tool, it's a machine, right?
Yes.
This is a tool used for an experience.
Yeah.
When you really forego the body, you will not have anything to have an experience.
Right.
So it's important that you keep your body intact, healthy, happy, to see that you have more opportunities to use for different experiences. And the fifth thing is, nothing in this world is bad or good, unless until somebody is harming intentionally somebody, unless until that. Everything that comes to you is not bad or good. It's something, an experience. When you start looking everything as an experience, you will know how to find solutions to it. See, right. I think these are the things I always like to tell people. That way they can see happiness around them, within them.
I think that is another advice. Consciously look at the happy side of things.
Exactly.
I think we somehow as a society we have lost the culture of giving importance to happiness or looking at happiness.
Right.
And we keep looking at a lot of other things.
Yes.
Not realizing that ultimately we are all aspiring to be happy. Why are we making so much money? Why am I buying a car? Why am I buying a house? Why am I going on so many holidays? It is ultimately because in pursuit of happiness.
Correct.
And if we are not giving enough conscious thought to happiness at every step or every second of my day, then that once in a year holiday doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. Even during holiday, you are working on the phone.
Exactly.
You don't call it holiday, working from a different place,
Yes, that's true. On that note, ma'am, we will conclude this discussion. It's been an amazing discussion. I think a lot of takeaways, but the biggest takeaway is be conscious about your upbringing, probably.
Yes, absolutely.
Identify why you behave in a certain way. The root might be it's something that happened 15 years ago
Correct.
and not something that happened 15 days ago in your life.
Yes, exactly.
So we need to dig deeper, and we have to be positive in our words, and that will lead to positive actions as well, and probably a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Happiness, as they say, ma'am, is infectious.
Yes, absolutely.
It is contagious,
Yes.
right? So if you spend time with happy people, you're more likely to be happy.
Absolutely.
But then also be conscious that happiness has to begin with you.
Yes.
And so let us make efforts to create a happier society together, work on ourselves, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for your
pleasure.
time. It's
Absolutely.
been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Same
so
here.
much.
Yeah.